Good Shabbos, good Moyed, good everything, good Yom Tov, good preparation for Hoshana Rabbah.
It's not Shabbos though, so it's okay for the video. She said, what?
Utvach, I meant. Sorry. Utvach and everything else that goes with it. Tonight's story took place approximately 200 years ago. There were two famous brothers who were both Rebbes, Rebbe Zusha and Rebbe Elimelech of Lezhensk, Zusha of Anipol. And one year they spent the holiday of Sukkot together, and it was in the Beis Medrash of Rebbe Elimelech. When they reached the Hallel services, when everyone goes to grab their lulav and etrog for the blessings and for the wavings of the lulav and etrog, and all of a sudden Rebbe Elimelech said to his brother Rebbe Zusha, I smell a hint of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, inside our synagogue. Someone here has a very unique etrog that has the fragrance and the beauty of Gan Eden, of the Garden of Eden. Please walk around the synagogue and see if you can figure out who has this unique etrog. Now, if you ever saw different etrogim, you would know that it's golden yellow and a beautiful shape and all the hallmarks of a beautiful etrog. So Reb Zusha was not going around so much with his eyes as he is with his soul. He's walking around the synagogue looking for the person who has this unique, amazing etrog that has a taste of the Garden of Eden with it. And he goes to the synagogue and goes among all the rich people and all the rabbis and all those who spend lots of money on their etrogim. And he sees beautiful etrogim and does not see anything that would make him sense the Garden of Eden. And finally, at the very end of the synagogue, on one of the last chairs possible, he sees a stranger, someone who doesn't come from this city. And he's immediately attracted to his etrog. He gets closer and he said, this is it. This is the etrog that has the fragrance of Gan Eden. But a little bit surprised because Gan Eden, the etrog itself was rather small and puny, not very gorgeous, not in the color, not in the shape, not in the size. So somehow it's a Gan Eden etrog, but it doesn't look like one. So he calls the man over, and together, the two brothers and this man, he asks him, what is the story behind your beautiful, gorgeous, amazing etrog? And the man looks at the rabbis as if they're laughing at him. What is their amazing and beautiful etrog? This is the most inexpensive etrog I've ever purchased in my life, and it certainly doesn't look very beautiful. Why are you making fun of me? And the rabbi said, God forbid, we're not laughing at you. Tell us, what's the story behind this etrog? So the man took a deep breath and said the following. Every year I put away money every week, spare cash, spare change, into a special jar, and that's my etrog jar. As soon as Sukkot is finished, I begin to put money away so that when the following year comes and Sukkot arrives, I have some money that I can feel free to spend to buy the most beautiful etrog. This is the mitzvah I love perhaps the most, if we're allowed to choose a mitzvah. And for many, many years, I am the guy who has the nicest etrog in town. People line up to bless on my etrog, and I'm happy for them to do it. This year, as I was on the way to the market with a wallet full of cash, ready to go buy the most beautiful etrog, and in fact, many dealers wait for me to come, I stopped at a bed and breakfast to grab a bite, and I heard terrible, terrible crying. And I soon discovered that there was a coachman whose horse, his only horse, had dropped dead, and now he was left without the means to earn a living. And he had no way possible for him to buy a replacement horse. So he was sitting and bemoaning his fate. His children will starve. He won't be able to provide them with warm clothing. He'll probably get kicked out of his house. What's he going to do? So once I discovered the problem, I approached the owner of the bed and breakfast and said, maybe we can do something to help this guy. And then the owner said, I've got a very valuable horse. It's probably worth close to 100 rubles. I'd be willing to give it away to this guy for half the price. But he has no money. He can't pay anything for it. Well, half of 100 is 50. I had exactly 50 rubles in my pocket. So I turned to this owner and I said, would you be willing to sell it for 45? He agreed. I gave him the 45 ruble. And I said, please give your horse to the coachman, and I left. I didn't even introduce myself to the coachman. I wasn't looking for praise. I wasn't looking for approval from anybody. I saw someone in need, and my heart was moved to help him. Well, now I continue my journey towards the big cities with the markets with the Etrogim, and I realize all I've got is $5 in my pocket, 5 rubles. What am I going to buy with 5 rubles? But I need an Etrog anyways. I show up in the town, and all the merchants are glad to see me. They know that I buy an expensive Etrog. I had to turn them down, and I looked, and in the $5 bin, 5 ruble bin, this is the Etrog that I found. I was a little bit embarrassed to go back home with this Etrog because every year everyone lines up at my door to use my Etrog. And this year I have such a embarrassing Etrog. So I spoke to my wife and she agreed that I could go for the days of Sukkot to a nearby town and spend the holiday there so I shouldn't feel uncomfortable. Turns to the rabbi and said, that's the story of my Etrog. The rabbis looked at him, looked at each other, and they were very emotional and they said, now we understand why your Etrog has a flavor, a fragrance of the Garden of Eden. Look what you did. A whole year you saved and you scrimped to save money for a mitzvah that you love. It's your money. You took away from some of your pleasures of life to collect that money and save that money and not buy other things you could have enjoyed. And then, with barely a moment's thought, you gave it all away to help a stranger, to help them stop crying, to help them be able to go on with life and have something to look forward to. So it's very clear to us that although your Etrog may not look the best, your Etrog is the most amazing, beautiful Etrog there could be. So perhaps that's a lesson for us, that when we do things for others, and we do it with a pure heart, that's what gives those actions real beauty. Have a beautiful rest of your life.